Hello and welcome to another Junkendriven episode with me, Andy. Now, this week we're going to be taking a look at this 2010 Citroen C3. Now, this one in particular is the 1.6 diesel edition, and this one's done 78,000 miles on the clock, and it's not looking too bad for it. The usual sort of bumps and scratches, considering it's a 2010 edition. But this one's not too bad, and the history on this one's pretty good too. So it's only had fails for things like wipers and brake discs. Nothing major, which is always a good sign for something that was produced around about 8 years ago. So it's not a bad small car. It's classed as one of the hot hatch small car styles. And you can see it's got quite nice styling in the metallic blue edition. And it looks quite a nifty little car, and it's quite nippy. So why don't we go out and have a drive and see what we think.
So what's it like driving the Citroen? Well, as a small car goes, it's not bad at all. You've got a 5-speed gearbox, it's got the digital display up there, and it feels relatively nippy considering the size of engine in it. And this being the diesel model as well, should be getting some decent miles to the gallon. It's got quite a nice feel to it. The steering when you're driving slowly is very light, very, very light. But as you start to speed up, and we've just come off the motorway there, it was quite happy doing 60, 70, just as much as pottering around in town as well. So all in all, it's not a bad little car really. It's probably not going to fit a lot of people in terms of space in the back. There's not a huge amount of leg room for the rear passengers anyway. In terms of the front passengers, seems ample room. I'm not a particularly tall person, as you know, but I fit in here quite nicely, and it's comfortable enough. You can stretch your arms out. So in terms of performance, it's not going to win any great battles. It's not exactly a supercar, is it? It's a small potter around town. But here we are, we're driving along quite happily, 50, 60, and the car's nice, stable. A little bit of road noise, a little bit of noise to it, but that might just be the car that I'm driving, to be honest. It's not the most refined of vehicles. And the interior, it's a Citroen interior. Visibility is pretty good on this as well. I've found that the view out of all of the windows and the mirrors nice and clear. Doesn't particularly have a nasty blind spot behind me, and the front door pillar, which is often one of the problems I find with these smaller cars and some of the larger cars, to be absolutely fair, the pillar is nice and small, so a car's not going to be hiding up in that little blind spot for you. Behind, you've got quite a nice rear view window, plenty space, and the mirrors are adequate. So again, in terms of driving, it's an easy drive. I'm not having any problems here. It quite happily potters along and does the job. Now I'll show you the gear change. It also suggests the correct gears, mainly for when you're going up through the gearbox. So if I shift down, it'll tell me to shift back up again and tell me that I should be in a different gear. So that's quite handy. That's mainly about fuel economy, that kind of thing. But in a small car like this, you're going to get good fuel economy no matter what, pretty much. You'd have to be really, really revving it and driving away like crazy to get poor fuel economy in something like this. Having said that, it's probably not as good for your long distance journey, so I wouldn't really recommend it going up and down the motorways or the dual carriageways, but the odd drive in it shouldn't be a problem, I wouldn't have thought. It does have one of my pet hates, and that is that it doesn't have a temperature gauge. Having said that though, most cars now don't seem to come with a temperature gauge for some reason, so there's only a cold and a hot indicator on this car. Notice that it lights up blue when you first set off, obviously trying to tell you that the car is cold, so don't put your foot flat to the floor quite yet. Give it a little bit of time to warm up, and I assume that would go red should it had a temperature problem. Now this is always my pet hate, because by the time that indicator goes red, typically the car is already overheating and it's bad news. But that's a general pet hate I've got on pretty much all modern cars, because they all do the same thing now anyway, so that's not exactly particular to this little Citroen.
So when it comes to the driving position and the driving style, it's not bad at all really. There's plenty of leg room, as you can see. Got loads of space, we've got a rest for your foot, which I always like, and it's quite a comfortable driving position, I think. And then for the passenger as well, we've got plenty of leg room. It's not bad. If you're a tall person, you might start to have problems with it, but the seats do go up and down, so you can adjust them as needed. But as you can see, there seems plenty headroom here. Looking around the dashboard, it's the pretty standard stuff really. You can see we do have this weird thing, which is what Citroen put in. This is to give you a nice little scent around the car. So what it does is it goes in the ventilation system, and you can put perfumes and things in that. So yeah, we'll not be worrying too much about this, but as a passenger car, it's quite comfortable. Let's have a look and see what the back's like. So getting in the back, and it's not bad for room actually. You can take a look. I'm not the tallest of people, but again, I think I'd be quite comfortable in here. Probably not ideal for huge long distances, but certainly adequate. Again, headroom's not too bad at all, and feet room not bad. I don't know whether you'd fit 3 people in here. I mean, I'm quite a slim build, so you'd probably fit 3 of me in here, but I don't know how you get on with any others. Apart from that, the interior styling, it's all very nice, it's very comfortable. Taking a look at the boot space, and you've got an average boot compartment where you can fit a reasonable amount in here, and you've also got the ability, you can drop the seats down and make it into a larger loading area if you need it for anything. Now, typical Citroen quality, you can see the slight problem with the rear parcel shelf, but that's fairly normal for Citroens. So what are the problems? Well, the common problems with the Citroen C3? Well, one thing that cropped up on the car that I was using was the passenger airbag light kept coming on, and this does seem to be a problem. It came up showing that the passenger airbag was disabled, as though when you switch it off when you're carrying a child in the front. Now apparently it's quite an easy fix. It looks like it's to do with the key switch that's in the glove box that disables and enables the passenger airbag. Few people have just remade the connections in there, replaced it, that kind of thing. So that's a reasonably simple fix. Other common problems listed, things like the heaters not blowing out hot air. Apparently that's just a distributor flap that needs replacing. It's just, the trouble is it's in the dashboard, so it's difficult to get at. Now there are some varying electrical problems, misfiring, idling, things like that. Most of these all seem to do with getting an update to the control unit or the ECU. So that's something to watch out for on these. If you do get misfiring or irregular idling as well, an injector sensor looks like that will sort the problem out. So those seem the major problems with the C3. Now the particular one that I had seemed to have quite squeaky suspension. Now it may just be that the top mounts need doing, or some of the bushes or control arms need replacing. Don't forget, the car I was driving has done 78,000 miles, and it probably needs a little bit of love and care because it was a hire car. Other than that, not a bad little car. And don't forget, if you do like these reviews, find them useful, or just want to add a comment, please add a comment down the bottom here. And of course, stay subscribed, because I've got more videos like this coming up very shortly. Just look for the hashtag Junkendriven, and you can find out more about this down below.